Arfield, 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield, he's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On it by Paul Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Have a shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody, welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redman, ahead of this weekend's game against West Ham United at the London Stadium on Sunday, 2 o'clock, I think it is.
It is, yes.
It is 2 o'clock. I should always check that beforehand, but I never do. I always forget. Then I'm like, oh, hold on, I need to back myself here. But that's 2 weeks in a row where I've got it right. And 2 weeks in a row that we are playing on Sunday. Obviously, last week, Bournemouth at home. That one was moved for the TV, whereas this one's just been moved because West Ham are in the Europa League on Thursday. Just to put some housekeeping out there, we're recording this on Thursday, so there won't be any reference to West Ham's amazing win in Germany because it hasn't happened yet, as we're saying. But as usual, we're joined by a West Ham fan. We're always getting an opposition fan on the show. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. If you got me on a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't feeling so good with no wins in 8 games, but we've won back-to-back games now, so my mood's gone up a little bit. And I'm not going to lie, Joe, I get really excited on Thursdays when we've got a European game. There's something quite special about it. I've got used to it, but without getting used to it, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. Obviously, we only had a very, very, very brief taste of it. But yeah, I loved it. I went to Athens. I went to Aberdeen. And yeah, I loved it. And I'd love nothing more to watch Burnley get there again. But that's a long, long way away if it is. So I'll just have to make do with England games for now, which I haven't been to one away for like 3-4 years. But before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that, as always, this episode of Turfcast is sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. The league season is entering the business end, and Green King Sport venues are showing every single televised Burnley game fixture over the running. With more than 900 sports pubs across the UK, it doesn't matter where you're based, you can catch every single minute of the action. Football is best enjoyed with your mates. So if you're not at the ground this month, get a text in the group chat and head to your local Green King Sports venue to catch the game. Also, don't forget to download the Green King Sports app to enjoy exclusive competitions and discounts whenever there's a game on. Right, let's get into it then. Season so far for West Ham then, please. Your thoughts on it? Because you've just said then, you've referenced the fact that you have been a little bit hit and miss recently. More miss up until very recently, where you've got back-to-back. And let's be fair, it's going to be back-to-back wins in the Premier League. So it's how are you feeling on your season so far? Because you're 7th and could be looking at a 4th European campaign in a row.
Oh, I'd absolutely love it. All season, I've sort of been predicting 8th, and obviously all the stars need to align, but there's a small possibility 8th gets you Conference League football next season, so we're back in European football. But you need the Carabao Cup winners to finish in the top 6. We've done that with Liverpool, so the first thing's done. We need the FA Cup winners to do the same, and we need the English sides to do well in European fixtures, so 5th gets Champions League, and then it comes down to 8th. And we're on course to do that. We're 7th at the minute, so it's going well. I think an outsider looking in would probably say, oh, it's an amazing season for West Ham, isn't it? You're in the knockout stages of European football, you're 7th in the league. What's there to complain about? Well, there's a few things to complain about, believe it or not. It's not all been plain sailing. You know, the playing styles been a big debate all season, and it will continue to be a big debate because Moyes' contract expires in the summer. And he's suggesting there's a new contract there for him if he wants it. All he has to do is sign it. But whether that's true or not, we don't actually know. So there's this uncertainty over the manager's future. The fan base is split. Some want him to sign that new deal and stay because of 3 years of European football, winning the Conference League last season as well. But other fans want him to move on because of the style of play and they're not enjoying it. And at times when I always say, to sum up David Moyes, and I don't know if you could apply this to Sean Dyche, which is when you're winning, it's justified. The football is justified. When it's yielding results, I feel like I have to put up with it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it, but I feel like I have to put up with it. But as soon as the results stop, it becomes a big problem because there's no entertainment. So you need to get points in order to say this is why we play what we do. And it's not been horrible football all season. There's been games I've enjoyed watching us play football. Brentford, a couple of weeks ago, beating them 4-2. I thought we played really good. I enjoyed the football. I thought we were attacking. I think we were on the front foot. We got 4 goals. It was good. At the start of the season, went to Brighton 1-3-1. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. So we've had some really good results and some really good performances. But we've had some really crap ones as well. And there's been games where we've won, such as at Turf Moor, where you come away happy with 3 points. But on the other hand, you're a bit got away with that one.
Yeah.
And now and again, that's okay. That happens. Pep Guardiola probably comes away from a few Man City games thinking, whew, lucky to get that win against Brentford. They only scored because Ayer slipped. But when you're doing it every second victory, it feels a little bit unsustainable. And eventually it's going to catch up with you. Now, saying that, if we can beat you Sunday, we will be minimum 7th in the league, possibly 6th. With 10 games to go in Premier League, that's a bloody handsome place to be in with 10 games to go. And possibly, this time next week, we could be through in Europe as well in the quarterfinals. So everything looks rosy outside looking in. Internally, there's maybe a few issues.
That's interesting because you said there, like, you feel like this style of play will always catch up with you. But as we just said there, like, this would be, if you qualify for Europe, next season will be your 4th season in Europe. So it's not catching up with you. You're outperforming the expectations of constantly qualifying for Europe. Obviously, you've won a European trophy, albeit the Conference League. But fans mock it. But I'd love to watch Burnley win.
Yeah, I don't mock it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love it. So it's interesting because I do agree with that, and I felt the same with Dyche. To be honest, I mean, eventually it did with Dyche. It did catch up with him. And that season we went down. We were dreadful that year. And the season before as well. It was like 18 months of terrible football that I weren't enjoying. And it did catch up with him. But it doesn't seem to be catching up with Moyes, does it? Like, he is from... I mean, I've referenced it on your show, but I'm 36 now. And in my lifetime, this is the most successful period I've ever seen West Ham have. I mean, I get that before they would have been a lot better. But West Ham, to me, were always flirting with relegation. Even got relegated a couple of times. I remember playing you in the Championship at Upton Park and things like that. So is it going to catch up with Moyes, or is he just going to constantly just keep churning out these results? Where do you stand on this Moyes debate? Do you think it will catch up with him? And do you think this season would be a natural end to his time at West Ham, or do you want to keep him?
I think it'll be a natural end, and I've not wanted him sacked this season. Just for context, I'm not wanting him sacked. I did during the World Cup, but last season, for context, we finished 14th. So the reason we're in European football this year is because we won the Conference League, which I expect any English side to win that competition. We played clubs that were not very good. We still have to win it, and I'm glad we won it. I'm not trying to dismiss the competition. And I've just spoken earlier about how I'd like to finish 8th and be in the Conference League again next season, because I genuinely, hand on heart, believe that the Conference League is an easier route into the Europa League the following season than trying to finish 6th or 7th in the Premier League. Whether that says a lot about the Premier League or the Conference League itself, that's up to you. But I think it's easier to win that trophy than it is to finish in the top 6 of the Premier League because of the standard of the opposition. We went unbeaten in that competition. We didn't really play a good team until the final when we played Fiorentina, and we won it. And I think I love that. And I'm not saying it's all been bad under Moyes. When we finished 6th in the COVID season, lockdown season, we finished 6th. We signed Jesse Lingard on loan because I remember beating you 2 or 3-0 at Turf Moor that season. I loved it. The football we played, I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it. Fast counter-attacking football. I enjoyed it. And then the following season finished 7th, got to the semi-finals of the Europa League. The season was almost split in two for me. I enjoyed the first half, not so much the second half. But last season, I thought the football was terrible. The results weren't great in the league. And yes, we won the Conference League. But you've got to be aiming to win it. Any English club has to be. Villa are in it at the minute. I fully expect Aston Villa to win that tournament. And if they don't, it's a failure. Leicester failed to win it. They should be good enough to win it. Spurs didn't even care about it. They didn't want to be in that thing. They almost got themselves knocked out on purpose because they were too good for that. They felt they were too. I don't think they are. They're hardly got loads of silverware recently, but they dismissed it. For me, with Moyes at the moment, I think it would be a natural end to his time at West Ham. And I think it's been a successful period at West Ham. Will he stop churning out these results? Maybe not. And me sitting here saying all season I've been thinking we'll finish 8th would suggest I've always thought he would churn them out. But I know that old phrase, and you must have got this many times at Burnley, you must hate it. Be careful what you wish for. I absolutely detest that phrase. Well, I am careful what I wish for. I'm not anybody but David Moyes, by the way. When we're linked to other managers like Steve Cooper, I think, oh no, I don't want to change him for that. But I struggle to believe we couldn't get a better manager than David Moyes. We are a big club. We've got a lot of money to spend. We've got some bloody good players at that football club. And we are capable of probably playing better football, yielding similar, if not better, results. I mean, you look at what Emery's done at Aston Villa. You look at that and think, well, why can't we have that? Why can't we do what Emery's done at Aston Villa? Because our players are not that far away, man for man. We're not that far away. You did a combined 11 of Villa and West Ham. I think it would be 6-5, 7-4 at worst, but it'd be 6-5, maybe in favour of Villa, maybe in favour of West Ham. It'd be very close. We have I believe, a similar level of squad available, and one of us is challenging for Champions League football, and it's not us. So yes, we could go backwards post David Moyes, but we could also go forwards as well. It's about getting the appointment correct. And I just think it would be the natural end to say to David Moyes, thank you very much, because you came in, we're a relegation battle inside. We're not that anymore. We've got stability at the club.
Yeah.
And he's done fantastic. And he is the most successful manager in my lifetime as a West Ham fan. And I think in 10, 15 years, I might look back more fondly of him. I think, wow, that period was good, weren't it? 3 seasons back-to-back European football. But at the minute, I don't know. I'd like a change.
Do you think then he's been a victim of his own recent success?
Yeah.
Because now he's taken you from, as you said, a relegation-threatened team to a team knocking on the door of Europe for the 4th season in a row. And now because you've been in Europe for the 4th season in a row, you want a better, probably a European manager who can take you to... Emery's a perfect example, who can take you onto the Champions League.
It depends. I don't speak for anybody but myself here, okay? But when I talk about Champions League, I don't think we're good enough to go qualify for the top 4 or 5. I know I've just spoke about what Emery's done, but I think you need to get the right manager at the right time, and I don't believe we're good enough to do that. This is my concern replacing Moyes. I'm not confident the board will get that appointment right. That makes me nervous. But my complaints over Moyes isn't the results. And to sum up replacing Moyes, what I always say is replacing Moyes with somebody that play better football will probably be quite easy. I don't think it'll be a difficult thing to do. Replacing Moyes that can bring the same results, I think will actually be quite hard.
Yeah.
Because I think he's done really good. To get a new manager that can replace Moyes, play better football and get better results, I think is a very difficult thing to do, actually. It's possible, but I think probability would suggest that it's probably easier to get it wrong and go backwards than it is to get it right and actually push on from where we are at the minute. But I think Moyes, victim of his success is a good phrase for Moyes, because I think he's got us to a position where, I see a lot of people suggest we're not that good a club to take over or whatever. I actually think we must be one of the most appealing clubs to take over as a manager. You're in London, you've got big money to spend. There's over 60,000 people at every home game. You've got Lucas Paqueta, Mohamed Kudus, Jared Boyd. You've got some really good players in that squad as well. Our academy is, while it's not being utilised at the minute, last year. They won the under-18s league. They won the FA Youth Cup as well. We've got some not all of them will make it, but even if 2 or 3 of those players can make it to the first team at West Ham, we've got a golden generation, if you like, at the minute of the academy. Nothing might come of it, but you might get 2 or 3 players that go on and play first team football at West Ham. I think the club's in a good position at the minute, and eventually there will be some form of takeover at West Ham. I think with, David Gold sadly passed away. David Sullivan's never been the most popular chairman in the Premier League, and at some point that club will be bought. So for a manager, it must be quite an appealing prospect. And you add in the wages we pay big wages to managers, so it must be incredibly appealing to any manager.
If you feel it's a natural end this summer, then I presume you've been looking at potential replacements. I mean, Oliver Glasner going to Palace, I think would have been a good, well, not necessarily a good fit, but that sort of name. Somebody obviously won the Europa League, as you'll be well aware, with Frankfurt, and he's gone to Palace, again, a club in London, a club smaller than yourselves, quite a size smaller than yourselves, and they've got a European trophy winner, as you, but a Europa League trophy winner as manager. Is there anyone that you've earmarked?
No. Last season I really wanted Postecoglou because when he was at Celtic, I thought in the way he speaks and stuff, and I know could we have got him? I would argue we could have last season. We might have done. We don't know. We'll never know. But and then sometimes there's an emphasis on any fan that wants a change of manager or even just a change of like a player, which is, I think we should sign a striker. So people often say, well, what striker could we buy? Well, it's not our job, but because we don't know what striker your club can go buy, or because you don't know that all the managers in the Bundesliga, the French league, the Spanish league, the Portuguese league, does that mean you shouldn't be allowed to want better? I don't think it should. We've got a technical director in Tim Steid and a sporting director, Mark Noble. Karen Brady claims she's one of the best businesswomen in the country. Well, I expect those people who are paid a lot of money to do their job to be able to identify a really good manager. It's not my job to do it. I'm just a gobby Scotsman on a webcam, Joe. I'm just a West Ham fan. It's not my job to identify the next manager, but I should be allowed to want change without knowing what the answer is, because if you're not allowed to do that, then can you have an opinion on anything, really? Can you want a new right back for your team if you don't know who that right back should be? It's difficult. We are not scouts. We don't have access to the data that people at the football clubs have. We don't have it. So I'm not. Sometimes there will be a manager I think, I'd like him. And there's a lot of managers I don't want, Joe, like Steve Cooper. We're linked to him. When we were linked to Postecoglou, I thought, not Postecoglou, sorry, Lopetegui, the former Wolves manager, I thought, I'm not sure about it. I don't really want him. Thomas Tuchel, might be a success, a bit of a basket case, and the fallout is inevitable, but might do well for a couple of seasons. So I don't know. So no is the answer. I don't have a name for you, but... And part of that is because I could just say, I'll have Arne Slot, please. He's doing fantastic in the Dutch league. I'll have him. I don't watch his team play. And some of my friends whose opinions I respect have said, he plays really good attacking football. That's okay. And I sort of believed them to some extent. But I'm not going to start watching Dutch football to get an opinion on a manager who may or may not come to West Ham. I've got no interest and no time in doing so. So I don't have a name for you. Lots of West Ham fans do, by the way. I don't have enough knowledge to sort of suggest who might do well at West Ham.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You're a man after Neil Layfield's heart, who is a lad that helps out on the podcast, does the full-time show with me and another lad called Sam, sometimes Liam Waddington, otherwise known as Visit, joins in with that. He's the only one on the podcast that is currently company out. And when pressed for, who would you want that, Neil? He just says, that's not my job. So he would echo them. He will echo them sentiments.
Because whatever job he is, let's just say he's a mechanic. I don't need to know his job, but what you expect the mechanic to know who the next manager of a Premier League football club should be, and if he doesn't know the answer, he's not allowed to want change. I just think it's a wild stipulation. If you don't know the next guy, then you're not allowed to desire change and want better for your football club. I don't get it. It's like in the January transfer window when we say, West Ham should have got an attacker. We're like Ben Rama and Finalsco, we didn't bring in an attacker, and people say, well, what attacker could we have got? Who moved in January transfer window? So, I don't know. Like, I don't know who was available, but if you want to name Broy, I went to Fulham. I don't necessarily want him, but there's an attacker that moved in January transfer window. And it's almost like you have to justify your desire for change through plausible answers, although you don't have the knowledge. And it's funny, isn't it? Because if you were to sit here and start throwing names out there, people say, well, how do you want him? Do you know that player? Have you heard of that player? Well, not really, but you wanted suggestions. I'm giving them to you. Now you're not happy with the suggestions. Can't win sometimes. But yeah, that fell on your channel. Leave him alone. He's allowed to want change without knowing the answer. That's not his job. That's up to your owners who get paid a lot. Well, board members who will get paid a lot of money to be in that position. Their job's to identify the replacement for Vincent Kompany.
Yep, fair enough. We've mentioned the Europa League and European conquest and stuff already. We're recording this on Thursday, so there'll be no mention of that match. But you are playing in Germany tonight. And of course, you still would like to finish in the top 8 in the Premier League as well. So what is your priority then this season at the minute? Do you think it's the Europa League, or do you think it's the Premier League, or do you think you're just trying to keep them both quite even? Because they're both quite important, aren't they?
Yeah, both. I think last season it was easy because we were flirting with relegation for large parts, but because we were, 14 is probably the best we could have hoped for coming midway through the season, because we were so bad. At 14, I would have taken it, at Christmas. But essentially, because we couldn't achieve anything, we could put all eggs in one basket with the Conference League, and we did. And we were safe with a handful of games to go, and that really benefited us. So around the semi-finals, and then especially before the final, we didn't have to field strong teams in the Premier League, so we could focus on that and go on and win it. And we were in this position 2 years ago where we were like 5th and 6th in the league and playing in the Europa League knockouts. And I felt we managed the squad really well for the first part of it. And then it got to the bit where we were in the semi-final against Frankfurt, but we could still finish like 5th, 6th, 7th in the Premier League. And that's when I thought we got a little bit flustered and had a small squad, and we ended up conceding points in the Premier League and going out anyway. And we finished 7th to get into the Conference League. But without that Europa League, we possibly would have finished 5th or 6th. It was almost like a failure to finish 7th in the end, because we were in that top 6 for large periods. But this season, I think we have to we can't prioritise one over the other for now. Say we lost against Burnley, and then we got Aston Villa before the international break. We lose that. Suddenly, you can maybe turn your focus to the Europa League. But while we're 7th in the league, I think you can't take your eye off that. And we've got, in my opinion, a favourable draw. But let's just say we get through to the quarterfinals and get drawn against Leverkusen or Liverpool in the quarters. I don't fancy my chances, put it that way.
It's interesting to speak. I'm going to say the same to you what I said to the Bournemouth fan at the weekend. It was wrong what I said to the Bournemouth fan. Well, I didn't say this would happen. I was hopeful it would happen. But you are playing in Germany on Thursday night, which means you'll probably be travelling back very late Thursday or very early Friday, which means the players will probably have a day off on Friday. If at the very worst, they'll be forced to come in late in afternoon, something like that. So you probably won't get to look at the players and have the players in the building until Saturday, with the game being on Sunday. Is there any chance of any tired legs or something like that? Like, it didn't. The difference is obviously Bournemouth played at home against Leicester. All right, it went into added time, but still, you're flying out to Germany and then flying back. It couldn't, for want of a better phrase, but it couldn't have gone any better this side of it for Burnley. No. I still think you'll beat us, if I'm honest. But it really could play into our hands. And you see it happen all the time, don't you? When Champions League teams and Europa League teams have an away game on Thursday, they get beat on the Sunday. Are you worried about that?
Yeah, we traditionally, we've done it. This isn't a small data pool. We've been playing European football for 3 years now, and we tend to struggle post-away game on a Thursday night. And sometimes, I think last season, it was an advantage because we were so crap in the league. We were losing at the weekend, but actually we'd go play a rubbish team on a Thursday because it was the Conference League, and we'd win. So it was almost like an injection of confidence, whereas other relegation side went losing at the weekend, losing at the weekend. We actually got a win in between because we were playing poor sides in the Conference League, so it helped us out. But traditionally, we have struggled post-Thursday games when playing away. We've got quite a small squad, despite spending 400 or 500 million in the last 4 years. We do actually have quite a thin squad in a lot of areas, where Emerson's our only left back. we brought in Calvin Phillips, which is good. But in terms of a replacement for Kudus, Bowen, and Paqueta, we don't have one. We just do not have one. Antonio is now back, which is good, but he's not like those three players. So that even if Moyes wanted to change it up for Sunday, he's probably got 3-4 outfielders he could bring in at most. He could change the right back or centre back, bring Calvin Phillips in, and bring in Michail Antonio for one of the attacking players. He tends not to. He tends to not rotate, and then at the end of the season, we're a bit flogged. But we've got a tough game against Freiburg, then yourselves, Freiburg again, and Aston Villa, and then the international breaks. I think he might be looking ahead of that international break, thinking, perfect. Some of the players will go away, but not all of them. Not all of them will go away on international duty, so we've got a bit of a break in the season then. So I wouldn't be surprised if the team that starts tonight on Thursday, majority will start against you. The only one that may not start tonight is Kurt Zuma because he's broken. He can't really play weekend Thursday. I'd be surprised if he played. If he does play Thursday, I wouldn't expect him to play on Sunday. But apart from that, expect the same team. I would join, and there will be tired legs, and I think you could possibly take advantage of that maybe a little bit, because when we played you last time, it was post-international break, because Edson Alvarez played against you, and he'd been away from Mexico, and he shouldn't have played. He didn't really want to play, and Moyes after the game said basically we agreed he'd play an hour and that's it, because he's just tired, he's knackered. So yeah, you might have a small. I say small. You will have an advantage on Sunday.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that we are a team that looks like we can't capitalise on stuff like this. But that brings me on nicely to injuries and suspensions. Is there any big injuries or suspensions that I need to be aware of? I'm just looking at the team that started against Everton. There doesn't seem to be all the main players seem to be there.
The only player that's possibly missing, I mean, is your former player Maxwell Cornet. He's got a bit of a hamstring strain at the minute, and he's not in Germany. He's the only player that didn't travel to Germany. So at time of recording, everybody bar Cornet is available.
You know what? I weren't going to ask about Maxwell because we are hitting 27 minutes now, but that brings me on nicely. Like, how has it gone for Maxwell at West Ham? Because it just seems like he's always injured, and he was a bit part player at Burnley because he was always injured. Like, we wanted him to be the main player, but he was injured too much.
Dreadful, really, truth be told. When we signed him, I was really excited. I loved him at your side. I thought he doesn't play unless he's 100% fit, but when he did play, I thought he was really good for you. And I thought, and with the greatest respect, I thought a guy that can score goals on a Burnley side is a good goal scorer. This was obviously pre-Vincent Kompany. There wasn't loads of chances. You were having a really terrible season, but I thought Cornet was standing out as like the shining light. So when we signed him for 17.5 million, I thought, hello, we got a guy that can score goals in the Premier League, and that's good. That's good value. And he was very unlucky because he scored away to Chelsea at the very start when we first signed him, and he got disallowed from VAR, and it shouldn't have got disallowed. Bowen brushed the arm of the goalkeeper when jumping over him, and that got disallowed. And then he got injured, and basically he went to France off his own back to fix it, whatever his injury was. And the stories were that what his injury was, the person that went to heal him had only seen it twice in his entire career as a medical expert. So whatever Cornet had, it was very rare. And Moyes made sly digs towards it in the media, basically saying we've got players that don't use the club doctors anymore, and that's the modern way kind of thing. And he's never really had a fair crack at it at West Ham. This season, he came on in a European game, set up a goal, which was important, and he scored against Sheffield United. And the next game, he wasn't even on the bench. There was two senior players too many, and him and Ben Johnson just got left out completely. And he thought, what's he got to do? An assist and a goal, brilliant. Here we go. No, nothing, gone. It's been a dreadful signing, and I'd imagine that if Moyes is here next season, I'd imagine Cornet will be the first player out the door in the summer transfer window, quite frankly. I'm a big fan of the player. I'm gutted it hasn't worked out, because at times we've been screaming out for a player with a little bit of the X factor. We played Man U away in January. Kudus was at African Nations. Paqueta was injured. And we genuinely played Ben Johnson, who's a right back. We played Ben Johnson on the wing ahead of Maxwell Cornet, who was sat on the bench. And we thought, like, we've got no wingers, and he's still not getting in the team. So it's been a terrible, terrible signing, Joe.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's still quite highly thought of at Burnley. It was the only shining light in that season, really. Scored some cracking goals. One against Everton springs to mind. The volley with his left foot, fantastic.
Was he always offside? Was he always offside at Burnley?
No, is that his thing? It was Chris Wood that was always offside at Burnley. Is that his thing now? Is he offside?
Yeah, he's offside. There was one game he came on for a minute and he was still offside. He played 1 minute and he was offside. But we've just made a joke about how he's just constantly offside.
Yeah, no, maybe he was just being outshone by Chris Wood on that one. But no, I don't remember him being offside too much. We'll get into your predictions then. But before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that we have exciting news to bring you from Uphold, Burnley's sleeve sponsor of the 23-24 season and a supporter of Turfcast podcast. Uphold have now launched a limited edition Burnley Uphold card, giving fans the chance to show their support home and away. The card is free and comes with a host of benefits, including the ability to spend money in any currency, anywhere in the world, where MasterCard is accepted with no foreign transaction fees, competitive exchange rates, and easy integration with Google or Apple Play. You can get your card today at www.uphold.com/Burnley FC. But that's not all. When fans use their card for the first time, Uphold will donate £5 to the Burnley in the Community charity, who obviously support the Burnley family, both on and off the pitch. Numbers are limited. So again, visit uphold.com/Burnley FC to get your card today. And it is always great to see these big companies put money into local community charities like that. Predictions then, mate. Obviously, you're coming back off back-to-back wins, as you said at the start of the show. You scored 3 against Everton, who have a centre-back pairing of James Tarkowski and Jared Branthwaite, who are head and shoulders above our defenders, and a better goalkeeper. So by that logic, you could get, 4, 5, 6 against us this weekend?
What the most impressive thing about those goals against Everton was, prior to playing us, they'd only conceded 1 goal to a header, and Kurt Zouma scored from a header against them. So there's only 2 teams that have scored a goal via a header against that Everton defence, and we're one of them. And previously, you've not been the best at dealing with crosses, or your goalkeeper is not the best at dealing with crosses. And when we played it, when we played at Turf Moor, I thought he was actually quite good at crosses, Trafford. I think he got the first couple and he got a hand on them, and I think the defence sort of reacted to it and gave him high fives and that. I think he got his pecker up a little bit, and then we went and scored a winner from a cross. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham, and it is with hesitation. Despite scoring 7 goals in the last 2 games, prior to that, we conceded 11 goals in 3. So we've got a leaky defence. I can't remember the last time we kept a clean sheet. It probably wasn't that long ago, but it feels like ages since we've kept a clean sheet. So I think you will score. And I have to be honest, when I watch you play Bournemouth, I've seen a bit of you this season, and I almost get frustrated because every time I watch you, it's a completely different 11. It's almost like I don't know what I can guess what most managers and teams are going to look like before their lineup comes out. But with Burnley, that's the one team I've not got a Scoopy.
I don't think Vincent knows his best 11.
Well, I think you played well against Bournemouth. I thought you were the better side in between the 2 18-yarders. The problem was the 2 18-yarders. You didn't know what to do in either of them. I thought Cullen was really good, and he's somebody obviously being a former West Ham boy.
Yeah, I forgot about that link. Yeah,
we've looked out for him, and it's one of those players that, whenever players leave your academy, it's like, well, who from the academy is going on to do anything? Josh Cullen's our one player we can look at and go, well, actually, he's done all right. And I know he's been injured and stuff, but I watched him on Sunday, and I thought he was fantastic against Bournemouth.
Man at match on Sunday for me.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant, and I thought Odobert was really good for you. But I was watching that game thinking, this team can cause us a little bit of bother, actually, this Burnley side, and I thought there was a lot of positives for you to take from it. It's a pity for you. It's the middle of March before there's a performance. We can build on this. If that happened in August, I think you'd be all right this season. But it's taking you to 10 games to go before you've got something there. So I'm going to say 2-1 West Ham, because we will sit back. We will be defensive and look to play on the counter-attacking football. And I think in the second half against Bournemouth, I think they ripped you apart a few times. And they were a little bit wasteful towards the end of that game before they got their second one. I thought Trafford made a couple of good saves, and even if I get frustrated watching him keep a hold of the ball, I'm thinking, we just released a bloody thing. Like, you've got to go. You want to play out from the back, but you've got a goalkeeper that can't play out from the back, and amuses me to some extent.
You're saying everything that we say 5 times a week on the podcast.
No, you've got a non-Burnley fan that's in agreement with you. Sometimes you can be a little bit tunnel vision, can't you, when it's your own side?
Yeah.
But I agree with you about Trafford. I think he's just good. Will be a good goalkeeper, but that's the problem. Will be. And on Sunday, I think hopefully we can win, because I want a 4th season of European football, Joe. And I think if we want it, we have to beat Burnley on Sunday. There's no two ways about it.
Yep, fair enough. I am not looking forward to this one. It's normally at this stage of the week where the delusion starts setting in, and I start thinking, well, if we beat this team, we'll be X points off that team, and then if we beat that team the week after, we've still got to play these, and I start working it out in my head.
And if Forest and Everton get done, then we've got
exactly I'm not doing it this week. I was going to say we were so bad against Bournemouth. We weren't, but you've summed it up perfectly. In defence, we were, and up front, we were. We couldn't finish our tee, and we couldn't defend for Toffee. We just couldn't do anything. In the middle, fantastic. And that's been the problem all season. Like you say, it's taken you till this stage of the season to have that performance. We've had these flashes in the pan 3 or 4 times, but then the week after we'll get spanked. Against Palace, we were dreadful. We were utter crap. Against Arsenal, we were utter crap. But it's against Arsenal, so you kind of let them off. But then to go to Palace and to get spanked 3-0 against a team, all right, they had the new manager bounce, but anyway, I'm boring you too much of the Burnley side of things, but it's been quite a few flashes in the pan. So I do think we'll play relatively well again. I do think we will hopefully capitalise on your European game on Thursday. But I just think ultimately you've got better players. You'll expose our defence. Like you said, if you can score headers against Tarkowski, you can score headers against O'Shea. Having said that, he's actually quite decent in the areas, O'Shea. He's just got a lapse of concentration in him, which is the thing that annoys me. So I'm not letting myself get excited. I'm saying 3-0 to West Ham, done. I'm not even looking at any connotations or what might happen or how many points away we'll be. And my thought process is, well, if they can score 3 against Everton, they can score 3 against us, because Everton have got a much better defence. But before we wrap it up then, mate, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you and your content if they want to digest some Hammers content?
Yeah, if you fancy hearing more from this gobby Scotsman, it's Hammers Chat. Just type in on YouTube, Hammers Chat, and you can find us out there. I quizzed your host Joe about all things Burnley, so you can get his thoughts on. If you want more Burnley content for one video and one video only, you can head on over there.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. As you've just said, I have done a show on there, so you'll be able to see my ugly mug on there as well. But thank you for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck for the rest of the season, especially in the Europa League, but after Sunday, please, mate.
Thank you. I'll take that. Winning the Europa League, if we were to win it, I don't care how Sunday goes, but we'll see.
Cheers, mate.